All right, guys, welcome back. It is March 1st, 2025, Saturday evening, about 9:20 p.m. And I'm sitting up in my bed making this video because, well, it's about the only place I have to make it right now. The rest of my family is out in the living room with one of their friends, all watching professional wrestling. It's something that my oldest son has always liked since he was a little boy. I've never taken an interest in it, ever. I mean, ever. But yeah, so my wife is trying to indulge them and like it with them, and now she's getting really caught up in it. I'm the only one in the family now that doesn't like it. But nevertheless, I don't begrudge them. If that's what you want to do, if that's what you want to enjoy for entertainment, I have no problem with that. But it's funny. I remember my first exposure to professional wrestling. And that was when I was a little boy. Well, I say little. It must have been the mid to late 70s. I went over to my grandmother's house in Indianapolis, Indiana. That's where I'm from, is Indiana. I was born in Indianapolis, but I didn't live there really for very long. I was just a little baby, but I did live in Indiana for quite a while growing up. And we went to go visit my grandmother, would just stay with her for like the day or the night or whatever, which I don't have any fond memories of that. But for some reason, as hoity-toity as she was, she had professional wrestling on her TV during the middle of the day. I never understood why. I wouldn't have pegged her for that. But I really hadn't seen it prior to that. I'd heard my friends talk about it, but I never saw it on television. Either it was on at times that I was not in the house, or it was on television stations that we didn't receive in the area that we lived in. You got to remember, back then, cable did exist, but not a lot of people had it. And we basically had three channels: ABC, CBS, and NBC. I don't think Fox was even around then. But nevertheless, I just never saw professional wrestling, but all my friends talked about it. And then when I went over to my grandmother's house and she had it on TV, I was mortified because I thought it was real. I really did. I thought it was real. Here I saw these grown men, these big men, beating up on each other, and no one was stopping them. And I look back now and I think it's just funny. I think it's kind of silly, but I was just mortified by the whole thing. And I just couldn't figure out how that was allowed. And then I started wondering, could I do that? Which is why I think a lot of people like wrestling, is they start to think, they live vicariously through these characters. Maybe, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't watch it, like I said. So I'm just speculating. I probably have no idea what I'm saying. But you start to think to yourself, I wonder if I could do that. And I remember trying some of those moves out on my younger brother. And my parents getting really mad at me because I did hurt them. But, you know, it gave you a little bit of confidence to try and think to yourself, you could try it on the bullies at school, right? But it never happened. And that never happened. I never got a chance to. Because then I found out that it really wasn't real. And then you're probably going to hurt yourself trying. But I never did take a shine to it like my oldest son has. He just loves it. He knows it's just entertainment. And I don't know how many people actually believe that it's real. Oh, if you hear any noise right now, if you hear any background noise, it's either the UFC that I'm watching. I'm actually watching the UFC as I'm talking, because I like watching real fighting. I got more to say about that in a minute. But yeah, I found out that you could actually hurt yourself doing that or do something stupid. And I just never really took a shine to professional wrestling like my son did. And but I always wonder, what is the ratio of people who believe it's real versus those who understand that it's only entertainment and they just enjoy it for that purpose. I don't really know. I used to think that a lot of people believed it was real, but I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that a lot of people actually believe that it's authentic fighting. They act that way. They act that way in the crowd. Yeah, they're out there. See, they're all excited out in my living room about this. That's why you hear them. I don't know if you can hear them yelling and hollering, but I don't know why they're so enthusiastic about it. I just can't get behind it. Anyway, so, yeah, But I'd rather watch the UFC like I'm watching right now. I haven't really been paying too close attention to it tonight because there's not a lot of big names that I recognize. So I'm just kind of like half watching it while reading and stuff like this. And I'm viewing more of it now that I'm making this video than I was here over the past few hours. But here's the question. Is it real fighting? Yeah, it is in that arena. UFC compared to professional wrestling is real fighting in that arena. But this is sanctioned, and so is professional wrestling, but it's sanctioned, there's rules, but you go into a different part of the world and fighting looks different. Like if you're in the military and you're fighting the rebels, however you want to view it, and the fighting looks completely different. It's more bang bang pew pew. It's a lot more violent. It looks a lot differently. That's real fighting compared to the UFC. Defending yourself against a mugger or a home invader, that's real fighting. And we've seen stories, heard stories about even real UFC fighters having encounters on the street or in their homes, or whatever the case might be, and they've been given a run for their money because it's not all the same. So what's real, what's not? We can see the difference in skill level, but it's just a thought that I had. It's just kind of strange. But nevertheless, where I was going to go with this was back in the 50s and 60s, there was a wrestler named Dick the Bruiser. That wasn't his real name. His real name, let me see, let me get my glasses on. His real name is William Fritz Afflish Jr. He was born June 27th, 1929. He died in 1991 in Largo, Florida. But he's originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. And so I guess in Indianapolis, he used to wrestle every Thursday. And I guess from interviews I've seen of him on YouTube, I watched a few of them, and he used to wrestle 4 nights a week. But I guess every Thursday night there in Indianapolis, you could see him fight on TV. And I don't know. I don't know how that worked out, because like I said, I didn't watch it. But he used to be a professional football player for the Green Bay Packers from 1950 to 55, I believe, something like that. He was a lineman, and he was well known for that. But they didn't have a very good record during that time. And yeah, so he became a wrestling champion and all this other stuff. I don't understand all the different associations and affiliations. I don't get all of it because I'm not plugged in. But I'll put a picture up on the screen of this guy. The reason I bring him up is not because he's from Indianapolis like I am, and he went to school or did something. He worked or wrestled or something in Lafayette, Indiana, which is where I went to school as a little kid. But he was a big guy, 6'1", 260 pounds. But here's the thing. I guess he was born in Delphi, Indiana, which I know where that's at. So my mother, when she was young, she used to wash his clothes. Now, originally, I thought that this was something she did when she was in college, but I don't think so. I think she must have been much younger. And that must have been a thing that people did to make money back then. They would offer to wash clothes for you. And somehow or another, she ended up being the person who washed Dick the Bruiser's clothes. Now, I have no stories that crop out of that. I don't have anything, really fancy to tell you about that, but I happened to look him up. I was thinking about this tonight because my wife and I were talking about this. And she said, I'm going to watch wrestling with the boys tonight and with the kids. And I was like, well, have fun with that. And she said when she was a teenager, her dad used to like professional wrestling. He liked glamorous or gorgeous ladies of wrestling, and which is funny. But I was reading about Dick the Bruiser, and I guess he used to be a color commentator on Glow. He had a real gravelly voice because he suffered a throat injury while playing football. So maybe you remember him. I don't know. Are you into wrestling, professional wrestling? Do you like it? What could you tell me that would change my mind about not liking it? Is there something I'm missing? Now, don't get me wrong. I think some of the stuff they do is pretty spectacular. It's pretty, pretty incredible, the stunts that they do. I admire that, especially the Mexican wrestlers. I think they have from what I've seen, they have the wildest performances. It's just crazy. I really admire the stunt work. It's like a mixture between stunt work and dance, in my opinion. But I think it's pretty awesome. But I just, for me to watch it and enjoy it, to go and to look forward to, I just can't. I just can't do it. But I do thoroughly love it. I've enjoyed the UFC since its inception. But some of that's kind of grown old on me too. I'm just not enjoying it as much as I used to. Maybe I've just been exposed to it for too long. Maybe they have too many fights going on. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. Maybe I just need to find a new sport to enjoy. But yeah, I tell you what, you should look up Dick the Bruiser on Wikipedia. Very interesting individual. And I guess he's kind of who made David Letterman popular. David Letterman's also from Indianapolis. But one little snippet that I read said something about he's kind of what put David Letterman on the map. I don't know necessarily. You can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's what I read. But that was all on Wikipedia. But yeah, so that's what they're doing. That's why I'm in here. And I felt compelled to make a video because it's probably been like 3 or 4 weeks since I've uploaded anything. And it's been on my mind. And so I found something to talk about besides the wrestling. I've been reading a book called This Will Make You Smarter. I've got like 4 books I'm reading, but this is one of them. This Will Make You Smarter. It's not a book I'm really enjoying too much. It's a bunch of scientists that have submitted short little articles, and to me, a lot of it's just a bunch of pretentious BS. I mean, but I am getting something out of some of the articles. There are some good things to be gleaned from them, but some of them I can hardly bear to read because it just seems so. Some of it just seems obnoxious and pretentious, like they like to listen to themselves talk. So I wouldn't give this book high marks, but I'm reading it because I have it. So anyway, there's this one article called Because, and it's written by Nigel Goldenfeld. And most of these little submissions can be read in 1 or 2 minutes. They're very, very short, thank goodness. But Nigel Goldenfeld is the professor of physics at the University of Illinois. And let me see, the very first sentence in this article captured my attention right away. He said, when you're facing in the wrong direction, progress means walking backward. When you're facing in the wrong direction, progress means walking backward. Then he goes on to say, history suggests that our worldview undergoes disruptive change not so much when science adds new concepts to our cognitive toolkit as when it takes away old ones. And I thought that was really, really good. He makes you, he gets you thinking about, or he wants you to really stop and think about what you think you know. What is your level of certainty? We like to be sure of ourselves in this world. We like to think that we know what we're talking about, that our judgments and our assessments are spot on. And we don't like to question them too much. In fact, we get upset with other people if they try to challenge us. I mean, not all of us do that. It depends on your level of maturity and how open you are to new ideas. But I just love that. When you're facing the wrong direction, progress means walking backwards. Have you ever thought to yourself that maybe you might be wrong about some of the things you've always held near and dear to you? It's good to question your beliefs about a lot of different things. And if what you believe is true, it will hold up over time. And you'll be more sure of what you believe as being true. rather than having lost faith in it, or whatever the case might be. It could be simple mathematics. It could be what you believe politically or religiously. It could be your opinions and viewpoints of what goes on in the workplace or in your circle of friends. It just doesn't really matter. But sometimes you have to walk things back to find the truth. And in another article written by Stuart Firestein, who is a neuroscientist and chair of the Department of Biological Sciences, Columbia University, talks about the nominal fallacy. But I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. I'm going to give you what he says in the first paragraph and then try to simplify. He says, too often in science, we operate under the principle that to name it is to tame it, or so we think. One of the easiest mistakes, even among working scientists, is to believe that labeling something has somehow or other added to an explanation or understanding of it. The nominal fallacy is the error of believing that the label carries explanatory information. An instance of a nominal fallacy is most easily seen when the meaning or importance of a term or concept shrinks with knowledge. Okay, the nominal fallacy and labels. One of the things I have found myself telling people in conversations who like to slap labels on people and ideas and things is, you like your labels, don't you? You really like your labels. I've said it to so many people because it's something that I've paid a lot of attention to. If we can label something, if we can label an idea, an ideology, a person, or a thing, we are in essence saying, I think I know enough about this, that, or the other to be able to label it. And if you label something, you don't have to think about it any longer because you already know, and you kind of shut the factory down. And you say to yourself, I don't need more information. I have enough. I've got this figured out. You know, one of the most quoted verses in the Bible is Matthew 7:1, where Jesus says, judge not that you be not judged. It's actually the most quoted verse in the Bible, not John 3:16. That's probably the second most quoted verse. But Matthew 7:1, judge not that you be not judged. And people love to say it, whether you're a Christian or not. People love to quote it. And they think it just means, don't judge me. Don't judge me. That's not what it's saying. Everyone has to judge. We have to form assessments, and we have to be able to look at things, size things up, and kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with. That's what judging is. What that verse is actually saying is, if you don't know what you're talking about, shut your mouth. You wouldn't want somebody forming ideas and opinions of you based on limited information, on so little information. And you know when they've done that, when they've slapped a label on you, when they say, oh, you're one of those people. I walked into a guy's yard maybe a month ago to go cut his power off for non-payment. He's somebody that we get all the time. And we give him too many breaks. And I got far enough into his yard where I decided I'm going to cut him off anyway. Usually he meets me out the gate before I can even get into his yard. He says, I'm going to go pay it. We give him a chance to pay it. But I was already well into his yard, behind his gate. And he comes out and he gets mad because I told him, I said, this time I'm cutting it. I mean, that's the natural consequence that should have been meted out a long time ago. But we gave him too many breaks and he got so upset with me. You know what he said to me? He goes, oh, you're one of those Trumpers, aren't you? I don't see what that had anything to do with him paying his or not paying his bill and me cutting or not cutting his power off. Had nothing to do with it. But he loved to slap the label on because then he could size me up and he thought he had me all figured out and he could judge me and think cruelly of me and justify his violent temperament toward me. He was wanting to get violent. I really thought it was going to go places, and it got really, really heated. And this doesn't happen as much as it used to. But we see this in a lot of places. You know, you get people who love to slap labels on people People who make different decisions with their life, whether it be with the direction their life is taking career-wise, whether it's their sexuality, whether it's what or who they worship, or whatever the case might be. We love to slap labels on people because then it allows us to no longer think about whether we're right or wrong about them, and it justifies whatever we want to say or do after that, doesn't it? What I'm telling you is that you might want to stop and think for a minute that if you remove the labels, you might have to think a little bit more. You might have to get to know people and to know things and to know ideas and to discover and peel back the layers a little bit and actually think a little bit more. Do away with the labels and think a little bit more. And now you don't just have automatic justification to treat people however you see fit. And that might mean taking a few steps backwards to make progress. It might be the very thing that you're missing in your relationship with your spouse, with your children, with your boss, with your customers, whatever tribe that you're in. Think about it. Do you apply labels to people? I don't want to know what they are. Don't put them down in the comments section. I don't want to know. That's not what I'm asking for. But can you relate to this? You can tell me that. Have you already learned this? And it's something I've thought about quite a bit over the last couple of years because labels have become so popular. It's just an easy way of coping with things we don't really want to have to deal with. And you'll notice that this is when if you haven't noticed before, pay attention to it now. When people are using labels, it's much easier for them to become vitriolic, for their words to be acerbic, to be aggressive, to violate someone's sensibilities. It's very easy to do that when you use labels. I want to say is take a step back, move backwards a little bit, and you might actually progress. And you might actually get further with people and realize that you might have been wrong about a few things. Don't shut the factory down, because that's what we do way too often. Well, I guess I could probably sit here all night and come up with a bunch of other things to say about it, but I might end up repeating myself. It's just good to be back on here, making another video. I don't think this spot right here, this location, is going to be a normal thing. At least I hope not. But anyway, thanks for listening to me. I hope it's meant something to you. I hope it's cleared a few things up, at least challenged your way of thinking. Because I know it has me for quite a while. And I'll probably raise this topic. I'll probably bring it back again, talk about it some more. In fact, this would be something that would be good in a live stream, which I've never done yet. I've never done live stream. I've got everything set up for it. I've just never done it yet. But anyway, I digress. All right, guys. I'm going to get back to watching the UFC. Probably eat some cookies and milk, Oreos to be specific. I still need to take a walk tonight. It's about, let me see what the temperature is right now. It is 61 degrees. Perfect weather to go perfect temperature to go take a nighttime walk. All right. Hope you're doing well. Leave a comment down below. I'll catch you guys in the next one. In the meantime, be wise.